Hey you guys, it's Heather. Welcome back to my channel. Excuse the setup today. I did not have time to prepare my whole setup like I usually do. I haven't shared a video with you guys in a long time, so I had to do this super quick, and I am literally on my bed, and you guys would probably laugh if you saw my tripod and my ring light and everything set up right now. If the camera gets a little shaky, I do apologize because my cat keeps jumping off and on. Here we go, shaking now. Might get a little shaky. Again, I apologize. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. Today, we're going to be talking about the missing persons case of Haleigh Cummings. So, Haleigh was born August 17, 2003 to Ronald Cummings and Crystal Sheffield. They dated while they were really young teenagers. They lived together for a while, and they actually had Haleigh first, and then not too long after came Haleigh's little brother, Ronald Cummings Jr. Both of the kids were actually born with some disorders, some medical disorders. I'm not sure what Ronald had, but Haleigh was born with Turner syndrome. And if you're not familiar with that, it's actually a genetic chromosomal disorder, and it actually has symptoms of heart defects, some abnormalities of like the face, sometimes the webbing of the neck. They don't grow to be very tall, and sometimes you can like see some deformities in their face. And because of this disorder that she had, Haleigh actually had to see a doctor monthly to get some hormone injections and, you know, to keep up with her health and everything like that. The couple actually split up, and Crystal Sheffield was not taking Haleigh to her doctor's appointments. She was missing a lot of them, and these were very, very important appointments that she had that could not be missed. And it was also rumored that she was also doing drugs, specifically cocaine, maybe other things. I'm not positive. And due to this, Ronald actually got custody of both children. As far as I know, Crystal wasn't working and she couldn't provide medical insurance for the kids, and Ronald did have a job, although he didn't make much. I think he made like $10 an hour. He was able to provide for them financially and provide medical insurance for the kids. So they had a custody battle, and Ronald ended up getting custody of both the kids because of this. Before we start to dig deeper into the case, I do want to say that during the custody battle, Crystal also said that Ronald Cummings himself did drugs. He was a known drug user. She also said that he was very abusive towards her and the children. And I have to say that, so that you know, the settings and the environment, you know, of everybody and all the people that were involved, it seemed like everybody involved in this case, in these children's lives, were on drugs or were criminals, had criminal history, and those types of things. It's not just, you know, Crystal Sheffield, you know, did some cocaine. It seemed like everybody had their part in those types of things. So fast forward a couple years, it is now 2008, and Haleigh is a 5-year-old kindergarten, and her dad actually meets a young woman named Misty. She's actually a young girl. She's 17 years old, and he meets her because I believe it's her little cousin. Goes to the same school as Haleigh, and they meet at the kids' bus stop. And during this time, Ronald was looking for a babysitter because he did work at the night shift. I'm not sure who was watching the kids before he met Misty, but he was looking for a babysitter at that time because he worked overnights. So he meets Misty, she becomes the babysitter, and eventually she becomes his girlfriend. I'm not sure how long it took for that to happen, but she was 17 years old, he was 25, she was the babysitter. She eventually became his girlfriend, and she moved in, and if I'm not mistaken, it was pretty quickly that all this happened. A little bit of background about Misty. I know that she dropped out in the 6th grade. She couldn't read or write. Her family described her as being an unruly teenager. I think she had lots of problems growing up, and there was also it was rumored that she was, sexually assaulted as a young child, and it just seemed like she was all over the place in her life at this time, because her family also is rumored to have done drugs, in and out of jail and those types of things. So the weekend before little Haleigh went missing, Misty went out on like a drug sex fueled like binge with like other men. She left Ronald's home, and she goes out and she does whatever she wants, for the weekend. And Ronald let her come back home, I believe that Sunday of that weekend. He allowed her to come back home, and Monday night, I believe, that's whenever he had to go to work at his job, working the night shift. I myself would probably not have left my kids with Misty, especially after what she, just did. She was a drug user. She was extremely young. But that's just what it is. Bad judgment, bad call. That's what he did. So, on February 9th, 2009, that's when things go from like bad to worse for Haleigh's little young innocent life. I'm going to go ahead and insert the 911 call so that you guys can get a feel of it. It's a really long 911 call, so I'm only probably going to insert a clip so that you can hear, and then I'll talk about it a little more.
I just woke up and our back door was wide open and we sat on her down.
Okay, when did you last see her?
We were just like, it was about 10 o'clock. She was sleeping, I was cleaning.
Okay, how old is your daughter?
She's 5.
Okay, what was she last seen wearing? Ma'am?
She was in her pajamas. We were sleeping.
Okay, all right. You said your back door was wide open?
Yeah, it was brick. Like a brick on the floor. Like when I went to sleep, the door was not like that.
Okay, the back door, listen to me. Your back door was wide open. What are you talking about, a brick?
Yes.
What is the brick?
It's on the back door, on the stairs. Like, we have, like, a walkway.
Uh-huh. And there was a brick laying there?
Yes, it's still there. They are.
We got him coming. Tell him we got him coming.
So Misty said that she woke up in the middle of the night and she saw the kitchen light on, and she went in there to check to see what was going on. And apparently they have a back door that is secured with a deadbolt, and she's saying that the door was propped open with a brick. According to Ronald, this door was really, really, really hard to open. Even it was hard for adults to open, and they said Haleigh was super short, so there's no way that she would be able to reach it. But during this 911 call, Misty and Ronald can be heard kind of arguing, and you can hear Ronald in the background like stomping around and like cussing. And 2 points I believe in the 911 call, they actually hang up on the 911 operator. I'm not positive if this was like Misty or Ronald himself, but they do hang up on the 911 operator. You can hear the operator trying to get important information, such as, her date of birth, what was she wearing, what does she look like, and Ronald just wasn't having it. He was saying that doesn't matter, we need to find her. But to be honest, personally, he's, screaming F all that, we need to find her, but yet he's not looking for her. He's literally in the house screaming, trying, saying somebody needs to get here, when personally, if that were me, I would be out looking for my child. But that's just me. Something that I kind of thought was a little weird was that Misty waited until Ron came home to call the police. Apparently he came home, I believe she woke up at 3 a.m. and he came home at 3:25, and then they didn't call the police until 3:27. 9:30 a.m. that morning, the Amber Alert was finally issued, and they have already started their searches for Haleigh. And The trailer park that they lived in, the area that they lived in was like swampy, like marsh type area, lots of grassy areas and things like that. And it was actually surrounded by water, and the St. Johns River was about 300 yards or so away from their trailer park, I believe. Divers actually went into the St. Johns River after scent dogs were able to track her scent to the dock of the river, but during their search, it came up empty. They didn't find any evidence of Haleigh or any evidence of human remains at all. Police also investigated, I think, about 44 sex offenders that lived in the area, and everything cleared out. They just couldn't find any solid evidence anywhere. It didn't seem like she wandered off. They were just unsure at this point. And to be honest, my opinion, from the lack of evidence, it was like she just vanished into thin air, like almost literally. Well, we know that's impossible. That's what it seemed like. During this time, Ronald begins to make public pleas, asking for the public's help for Haleigh, and Misty herself appears in some of these interviews, and people almost immediately begin to feel unsure about Misty and her story. And the way she looked during the interviews, she was always zombie-like. I know that she did drugs, so she could have possibly, just been under the influence at that point. But if you take a look at some of those videos, I may or may not insert them in my video, but she's just sitting there or standing there most of the time, like staring off into space. Like it's just really weird. There's like a missing child here, and she just seems like, I wouldn't say like she doesn't care, but she's just like totally out of there, it seems to me. And a lot of the time, sometimes she'd be kind of crying or trying to appear she was crying, and it was kind of weird, and it was really unbelievable to me, to be honest. And I think other people felt that way also. I heard that Haleigh's maternal grandmother even called Misty out about it, saying that, her story wasn't adding up, but later she recanted, apologizing for saying those things. As they dig deeper, police are able to, in fact, totally clear Ronald Cummings of any involvement in his daughter's disappearance. They were actually able to confirm that he was at work, and they did also have surveillance video of him stopping at the corner store at the end of his shift and, buying a few things. But Misty, on the other hand, they say that her story keeps shifting, and it's really hard for them to establish exact time surrounding the disappearance, and they start to suspect her pretty quickly. Initially, Misty said that she went to sleep with both of the children in the large bed inside of the master bedroom, but then she said that her and Ronald Jr. slept on the large bed, and that Haleigh slept on a toddler-sized mattress in the same room, but off in a corner a few feet away. She also says that she woke up in the middle of the night to, I think, use the bathroom, and then she says that she just woke up, and then she says she got up for water. Just nothing is making sense at all. She said that Haleigh was wearing pink pajamas and when she went missing, but then whenever they searched the trailer, they actually found the pink shirt that she was supposedly wearing in like a pile of dirty clothes inside the bedroom. I know polygraphs aren't super reliable, and they aren't even admissible in court, but I do have to say that Misty also failed a polygraph test, and I'm going to go ahead and share some of those results with you. Okay, so question: did you intentionally withhold any information regarding Haleigh's disappearance? Answer: no. Result: 99% deception. Question: do you know what happened to Haleigh? Answer: no. Result: 99% deception. Question, do you know where Haleigh is now? Answer, no. Result, 95% deception. Question, do you know who took Haleigh? Answer, no. Result, 42% deception. They say that, because it might be kind of confusing, the 42% deception doesn't make a lot of sense, but they say that whenever the number is kind of weird like that, it could be that it may not have been her, because the question was, do you know who took Haleigh? It could mean that there were multiple people involved and something may have happened inside the house that prevented Misty from knowing which person took her away. If you guys have never heard, like, in detail the facts of this case, you, excuse my language, are about to have a what the fuck moment. A month after Haleigh disappeared, Ronald and Misty actually get married, and it's all captured by like news reporters, and it's aired on the news. These are like professional cameras they have out here, and Misty was 17 at the time. She had to get permission from her parents, like written permission that she could marry Ronald. And remember, Ronald was a lot older than her. And they also wanted to get married in a church, but the church actually would not let them. And I'm pretty sure, you know, put two and two together. Pretty sure it's because of everything, you know, surrounding this case. So they get married in either her or his friend's backyard, and this is only a month after Haleigh went missing. I'm not sure how you take that, but that is pretty weird to me. I personally don't believe Ronald had a hand in his daughter disappearing, but I wonder how he couldn't recognize Misty's, you know, untruthfulness. Why didn't he see that things weren't just adding up, things weren't making sense? I mean, like, the entire nation could, you know, was watching this unfold on national TV, and I remember this happening, and I remember feeling like she's lying. She definitely knows something. I don't like to talk, you know, ugly about people, but I wonder if Ronald's lack of common sense could have been the reason why he didn't suspect Misty and why he married her. But I'm really curious as to why that happened. The marriage, though, is actually short-lived. In October 2009, they divorced, and on an episode of Nancy Grace, Nancy asked Ronald, you know, what happened with the marriage, and his answer, word for word, he says that there were family problems and everything else that doomed our marriage. So fast forward to January of 2010, there is still no sign of Haleigh. She's missing. There is just absolutely nothing. Police have nothing to go on, and like I said before, it was like she vanished out of thin air. So Misty, her brother Tommy, Ronald, and two others were arrested for drug trafficking charges. This all actually unfolded on undercover police footage, and I'm going to go ahead and share that with you now. Go ahead and take a look.
But I've got them pinned in little double sandbags. Just going to count them out real quick to make sure they're all in there.
I'm positive they are, man. I'm sure you.
There's 100 there. There should be 100 there.
Damn, I got them in 9 bags.
Make sure it's straight.
There's 100 in here. They're all in 10 packs. There's 100.
Yep. That should be 10 in each one.
Yep.
So just whenever. I mean,
It should be. It's going to take a couple days for me to get rid of 200 of them now.
well, I've got 2 weeks to play with, dude. So I mean, you know, 2 weeks, whatever.
Okay. I'll get it for you, no problem. 2 weeks so I can make the money to pay for them and eat them myself.
Right.
Listen. Hang on.
Hey, do me a favor.
So during this undercover sting, agents were able to buy, I want to say, around 300 prescription pills in 7 different transactions from Misty. And Misty actually received a 25-year prison sentence for this, and Ronald and everyone else received 15. And I think the other people involved were a couple of Misty's friends. A lot of people seen the long sentence for Misty as some type of like payback, because everybody believed that she knew what happened to Haleigh. I believe that they threatened her with such a long sentence in hopes that she would talk. And not sure if this was like during the trial or like before the trial, but Misty ends up coming out and she says that her brother Tommy and her cousin Joe Overstreet actually was from Tennessee and he was visiting Florida. She said that they both came over to the trailer that night looking for a gun that belonged to Ronald, but they couldn't find it. So instead of taking the gun, they took Haleigh, they put her in a black bag, and she says that they then threw Haleigh in the St. Johns River. And there's actually footage, if I can find it, I'm going to go ahead and put it up for you guys right now. Right after this, but there's footage of her leading police. She's like in shackles, she's dressed in all orange, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen it, and she's actually leading police down a dock, and I believe it's to the St. Johns River, and they go and do a check, do a search for Haleigh, but of course they didn't find her. On the way back from that particular incident, I wish I had the exact words, but I can't find them anywhere. I don't know if police were questioning her in the police car on the way back, but she says something along the lines of, she gets pissed off and she says something along the lines of, fine, I'm never gonna tell what really happened. I read that somewhere and I've read it recently. I forgot to save the link, so I don't have the source for that, but I did read that. So apparently the day after Haleigh went missing, Joe Overstreet, which was Misty's cousin, he took a flight back to Tennessee. Now, I don't know if this flight was like prearranged or if he did have something to do with it. I don't know if he just said, hey, you know what, I did this, now I'm gonna like book a flight and take off. I'm not positive on that. But now I want to go ahead and get into some of the rumors and speculations, things like that about the case. So one rumor that I read was that Misty was not even home the night of the disappearance. I read that Misty took the kids, both Ronald and Haleigh, and she went to a party somewhere in the area, and rumors are that Haleigh overdosed and they got rid of the body. Now, I'm not sure if the rumor was that Haleigh was given drugs or she accidentally got drugs or what, but there are rumors that she wasn't there. She was at a party, she died, and they got rid of the body. The thing about this rumor is really hard. I'm sure it was really hard for police to track down everyone and get like facts, is that, like I said before, everyone that these people associated were drug addicts. There is no way all of their stories are going to make sense. And that is exactly what happened whenever they questioned these people. Everyone had a different story to tell. For all we know, that was just something totally made up. I don't know. I have no idea. Nothing would make sense. Everyone had a different account as to what happened that night, if it ever happened at all. Something else that that came out that could corroborate with that, and it couldn't also, is that Ronald said that he called Misty, and phone records show this as well, that he called Misty about 20 times that night to check on them, to check on the family, and he couldn't get a hold of her. So he said that he called Tommy Crossland, Misty's brother, and he said, hey man, can you go check on Misty because I'm calling her and she's not answering. Tommy himself said, yes, this did happen. He did go over there to check on Misty and the kids. He knocked, but there was no answer and the lights were off and it seemed like everyone was asleep. This could mean two things. This could mean that Misty wasn't home, you know, so the party theory, you know, could come into play here. But this could also mean that Misty was a drug addict, as we know, and she could have possibly just, you know, slept through all the knocking and all the phone calls and everything else. Going through this case and trying to find information, you guys, was like going down a freaking rabbit hole. There is just so much information and so many fingers being pointed and stories possibly being made up. It is almost impossible to figure out what is fact and what is just something that somebody made up. Now, in my personal opinion, I am not sure that Misty harmed Haleigh herself, but I am 100% sure that Misty knows what happened, whether if it was an accident, whether it was Tommy and her cousin Joe Overstreet. My opinion, she knows something for sure. She failed polygraphs, she failed stress tests, the comments she made in the back of the vehicle, just her demeanor the entire time. There's just no doubt in my mind that she knows more than she's saying. And it blows my mind and it hurts my heart that this poor little girl had to grow up the way that she did. And it seemed like nobody truly cared. I feel like Ronald Cummings did care for his child, but I feel like he could have cared more. And I may be wrong, I don't know, but maybe being raised the way he was raised in probably the same exact environment as she was, and that was just like a normal way of living for them. But the cycle has to be broken somewhere. And another thing that always totally pisses me off is that it's a lot of the time a boyfriend or a girlfriend that harms someone's child. You see this time and time again. Turn on the news, you know, look it up, you'll see it all the time happening. And we gotta just stop trusting random people with our children. It is not safe. They are our most prized possessions and we should treat them that way. If I have this information correct, and last I read, Crystal Sheffield is actually serving jail time herself, and so are Misty's parents. So at this point, I'm really not sure who has Ronald Jr., but I pray to God that it is somebody with common sense, somebody that doesn't do drugs, and somebody that's going to take care of him, because these children deserve more, period. Haleigh would have been turning 17 years old this year, and next month in February would actually mark the 11th year that Haleigh has been missing. Like I say in every single video like this, I hope that if you have the information that you will provide it to provide closure for this child, so that she can have a proper burial. And I hope that if Ronald or Misty know anything at all, I hope that one day they find it in their hearts to speak up and let this child just rest in peace. That's all I have for you guys. I tried to provide the facts of the case that I thought were most important. There were probably little tiny bits that I may have left out, but those are the most important things. And if I left anything out, I'm sorry. You can go ahead and put it down in the comments to let everyone else know. Hopefully I can get another video to you guys next week, and hopefully I can get one every week from now on. Sorry for the delay again, but that's all I have. So until next time, guys, be safe.